This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right, it is not. It is a receiver of thought. Because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. So thrilled to have you listening. And I'm going to please ask you to hit the subscribe button. Wherever you are watching, listening, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, never miss any Mile High tick. And you can do that by hitting subscribe. Also, Mile High, I can't believe it, 14. I didn't know what I was getting into. Mile High 14 is coming up, and you want to clear your calendar to be there August 20th, 2026. Rise up to milehigh.com as we can get all the info. Love to have you there, and get to altitude and hang with us. It's just getting better each year. We raise the bar. You get what I did there? Raise the bar and decide to rise up to mile high altitude before the ball drops on 2025. Okay. So now today, I'm so thrilled to have this guest today. Dr. Mark Romano and I are contemporaries. He graduated from Palmer in 93. I went to school in 93. Private practice ever since. 3 offices welcome new associates to help develop them as chiropractors. We have a lot of the same influences that impacted our thinking for chiropractic. He's a past leader of many different organizations and where he's contributed to chiropractic. He's the current chairman of the board for the Chiropractic Trust, founder and consultant at NTSCinstitute.com. And I'm so glad to have you here, my friend. Thank you for taking your valuable time to be part of this podcast episode and share your wisdom with chiropractors from around the world.
Thank you, Daniel. And I'm going to tell you, the last time I was on your podcast, you said something that stuck with me. You know, we always get these nuggets. And one of the things that I changed, and even changing the definition, moving away from the word correction and focusing exclusively on adjustment. When you first said that, I'm like, I need to think about that. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, that is quite profound because that is our lexicon. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I was part of the Sherman Chiropractic Board of Trustees, and when we were writing the mission, that was our job. I made a big stink about that because we have to, include innate in the what we do, and if we don't include innate, then we're going to glorified physical therapy, right? So, right. And I learned that in philosophy class at Sherman. So, first of all. Yeah, right. And Bill Decken and David Koch at the time. Yeah. So first of all, let people get to briefly know you a little bit more personally, which is how did you get the chiropractic bug in terms of going down that path?
Well, very interesting. Growing up in Boston, played a lot of sports and really focused hockey and football. And then I got really big into weightlifting and started bodybuilding. And back then, 1983, 84, we didn't have internet. You had to go to the library. So I checked out a book by Arnold Schwarzenegger's best friend, a guy named Franco Colombo. And, Franco was Italian and came from the Italian part of town. He was an Olympic weightlifter, a bodybuilder, a boxer, a power lifter, and just a phenom in so many ways. And then he was a chiropractor. And there was one sentence he had in his book that I'm going to paraphrase in his complete book of bodybuilding. And I'm 13, 14 reading it saying, to the likes of bones in your spine misaligned, put pressure on nerve and interfere with the expression of life. I help your body adjust that so your body can live better and stronger. And it just clicked. And, I thought I would go every week to something like that if I could afford it. That's amazing. And then I'm like, look, nobody expects anything from me. Everybody tells me that, I'm something else or a piece of work, not in a good way. So nobody is going to be disappointed when I fall flat on my face. So I'm going to go be a chiropractor. And then that's when everything changed for me. I started to do good at school. I realized if you study, you end up getting good grades. I never made that correlation beforehand because now I had a purpose. So then I went to Palmer and, was indoctrinated in a lot of the BJ Palmer dogma. And I love BJ. I love DD. I'm so thankful for what they've done. They did make chiropractic more into a theosophy where these things were like synonymous. Universal intelligence was synonymous with God, innate intelligence, synonymous with soul. I do love the work Claude Lessage's doing. I consider Stevenson to be the actual philosopher of that decade, generation, and the 1927 chiropractic text, the 33 principles, normal complete cycle to thought. Even if they weren't 100%, you could see where Stevenson was taking it to the next level.
Right.
And then going to Palmer and then reading all BJ's work, and then chiropractic, vertebral subluxations, the cure for everything. I mean, I was around Reggie. Reggie in 1990, when I started school, was his first time that he was allowed to speak back on campus.
Really?
Yes, and I got to see him at that Lyceum homecoming, and standing ovation, 7 o'clock in the morning. Reggie's such a dynamic speaker that nobody was really listening to the content of his words. And even I thought, well, there's something to this guy. So, but I wasn't ready because I was in the dogma, and later on when I graduated, still in the dogma, I worked for a guy who was actually a big DE guy. Best thing to happen to me there, Daniel, is he gave me my first blue book. And after a year in practice with him, I read it. I'm like, finally, this makes sense. And then I got to call Joe Strauss and then found out that one of his mentors was Reggie Gold. And I called Reggie and apologized to him. And we ended up having a wonderful relationship, speaking and going to different places together. And, even with Reggie and Joe Strauss, I would always challenge them with different questions and thinking to the point to where they probably got a little frustrated. And to me, the grandfather of chiropractic, the godfather, the person who was so much a mentor to me, who I consider the greatest practicing chiropractor who ever lived, would be Joe D'Onofrio. So his son Joe J at Sherman doing amazing things. So thankful there. Joe D, and now we've lost the big three of chiropractic. We've lost Reggie, Strauss, and D'Onofrio. This is why it's so vital for us to be stepping up as we are in what you're doing here. So yes, and then this model, the non-therapeutic model, is the only model that really congruently makes sense in chiropractic. To move away from physical medicine, to have that separate and distinct entity. And hats off to Claude Lesage, where he's taken the blue books and he's revised Stevenson's chiropractic text into 4 separate books, changing and tweaking names to make more clarity and more fluid logic in the 33 principles, and changing universal intelligence to a universal principle of organization, and innate intelligence to innate law of living things, to get away from any personification and theism, and looking at the 33 principles as a basic science is next level thinking. And I'm excited for his next book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving what he is doing. And, I got to tell you, as I listen to you, when my mom was in chiropractic school, and I was actually coming home from a Little League game. We were talking a little bit about baseball before we started recording. And I was coming home from a Little League game, and she was in school, and I was awful at sports because I was always ill. And she was holding my hand as we were leaving a game, and I had hit a 3-run home run. I'd never hit anything. And I was just awful. She had started taking me to a chiropractor, and I said something to her. I said, do you think this guy you're making me go to, is it somehow helping me play baseball better? And she said to me, as we were walking home from the game, she said, everybody works better with a good nerve supply. And that was what stuck in my brain when she said that. And that, that was like the first thing of, oh, this is interesting, in terms of as thinking about chiropractic. And then those 3 people that you mentioned were some of my biggest influences along with Tom Gilardi and Donnie Epstein, obviously,
Right.
in terms of my thinking of chiropractic. So we're pretty, we're right there in terms of who like influenced us in terms of
Yeah.
thinking. And I had gone to Sherman. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna be a chiropractor. I don't want to be a doctor. And I had gone to Sherman College for Lyceum, like tagging along with my parents. And I heard in the audience one afternoon Arnaud Bernier, Joe D'Onofrio, Reggie Gold, and Donnie Epstein. And by the time that was done, I was crap, I'm going to chiropractic school.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's just awesome, man. What school did your parents go to? Did your mother go to Columbia?
Donnie went to Columbia when it was Columbia. And
Right.
he had a great chiropractic education, and then it
Yeah.
went to NYCC. My mom went to NYCC, and she didn't have as good a chiropractic education because it was now CCE. But he was in Columbia, and that had a great education at the time. And then
Yeah.
we all know what happened, right? So now I wanted to get you right on the podcast because you've been posting something super important and I'm watching it and I'm also seeing very few people take you up on it. So I was like, well, I want to take you up on this and put it on. So I hope more people do so. What, you said, I want to get all the leaders together. And I don't know the exact wording I'm from, but all the leaders get together and discuss, I think it was the definition of chiropractic or something like that, or what it is. And I saw a lot of people ignoring it, but I think that's really important, right? So first of all, tell me why you were posting that, or tell everybody why you were posting that.
Well, chiropractic, our understanding evolved. And yeah,
Hmm.
I got a lot of negative slack from there, and that's unfortunate. So when we look at chiropractic in the United States, it influences the whole world. And you have state sovereignty. So every state has its own law and its own definition of chiropractic. Now, the definition evolves because our understanding of chiropractic principles evolve. So when D.D. Palmer came out with that chiropractic is the philosophy, science, and art of things natural, a system of adjusting the segment of the spinal column by hand only for the correction of the cause of disease. That probably worked pretty good back then. It's got way too many holes in it, and the terminology doesn't withstand our understanding today.
Hmm.
Because even then, by hand only, I don't agree with that.
Right.
You can use an instrument. Disease, why couldn't you use another term? I don't know. Even vertebral subluxation, and Reggie was very big. You have to use both sides. Vertebral subluxation. To say subluxation alone is not enough. We own the lexicon of vertebral subluxation, and as our organizations are massively defending our lexicon there. So so now it's like, okay, we have all these different definitions that are very unclear. And I get why there's need of ambiguity in state definition. That does help more than it hurts. What it does, unfortunately, what happens is chiropractic has been faced for 130 years with an identity crisis that nobody in the public really knows, except if they come and listen to us, what chiropractic is and why everybody needs it. So
Right.
if we look at a definition, like we have, that chiropractic is the analysis and facilitation of the adjustment of vertebral subluxations because they, in and of themselves, are detrimental to the expression of innate impulses. Chiropractic is all education toward this objective. Chiropractic is nothing else. Chiropractic must be congruent with the 33 principles of basic science. So
Hmm.
now we have a point that we can create some identity and be something very separate and distinct, unlike anything else. Chiropractic does not fit into vitalistic philosophy. It does not fit into holistic philosophy. It does not fit into anything else that's outside of chiropractic. There are bits and pieces of similarity of universal truth, but simply speaking, chiropractic is separate and distinct. There are times that the vitalistic philosophy runs out in regards to chiropractic. So we need to be proud of that. We need to try to stop putting chiropractic in a box based on other professions when we are so unique and we are the only profession focused on the adjustment of vertebral subluxation for a fuller expression. And even the term innate impulses, and this is something I'm considered a radical on because my thinking is that you can have interference not only on the efferent pathway where there is the innate impulses that we changed the word from mental impulse because it's no longer just in the brain. There can also be interference on the afferent pathway carrying trophic impulses. So we even need to modify it further, not that much further, but a little bit, especially in our definitions, because like you're saying, these small words in our lexicon make a huge difference in how we practice and reach the world.
And that's one of the things, that I love about what Joe Strauss did. But he's like, we have to refine this. And what you said about Didi, I learned this from Tom Gilardi. Like, Didi had a 10-year, Tom told me at the time that, and said in classes that it had a 10-year growth of like his thinking. And you map out, he thought, and how he spoke and wrote, or, in the beginning as a magnetic healer towards, over his writings changed as he grew. And that's why I really appreciate what Joe Strauss did, because he wanted to, refine what we were doing and what we were saying and the words we were using from all BJ's writings. And it doesn't devalue what BJ did. It just, time's gone by, we got to refine things. And that's why I love what Claude is doing. There's people that don't like what he's doing, which I think is horrible. Like, we have to grow and refine and learn different terms. And the world knowledge in terms of science and philosophy and what we know, like a unified field, which Claude talks about, like they didn't think about that at all in the late 1800s, right? And so we have to further refine what it is that we say. And there's going to be people that do this with that, but we don't grow if we don't do that. But there's people, like, I love that you were posting that, because there's leaders like, we're going to, rather than discuss, we just want to stay in our area and not talk about it at all. And if you don't grow, if you don't say the unsaid, if you don't have conversations, there's no growth.
Correct. And the only way we know if any idea is valid is through debate and criticism. That's the only way, because, they didn't have it all figured out. And to utilize dogma in chiropractic does not work anymore. So Didi, amazing. Did he have it all figured out? No more than Benjamin Franklin did when he discovered the principle of electricity. And to this day, we don't really know. And I say we like I'm an engineer, because I'm not. We don't know how electricity works. We know enough to harness it. And our understanding is so much better than Ben Franklin's was, as it should be. And I don't see scientists being concerned, oh, what would Ben Franklin think? Ben Franklin doesn't own electricity. The Palmers do not own chiropractic. This is a law. This is a principle, as BJ called it, a law of life. Now, BJ and DD came from a more spiritual place. And as BJ progressed in his life, their writings always changed. They always evolved. Hats off for them writing things down. You see where BJ evolved. He evolved to forward spine, to upper cervical, and then back to forward spine. He became much more spiritual after Mabel died and the bigness of the fellow within. It took chiropractic into a theosophy, and it kept chiropractic in the realm of physical medicine. They didn't know these things. They didn't know that innate resides within the innate realm of the innate field within the body, not in the brain. So now we need to clarify things in regards to the normal complete cycle. You see, because they didn't know that. Innate doesn't talk to you. I'm not saying you don't have spiritual guides and all these wonderful things. Didi talked constantly about his writings being inspired by this voice, the soul, and that universal intelligence is the Christian God. There is so much, you can reason it out. However, it still makes chiropractic a theosophy, and it doesn't need to be. We can accept, I'm a devout Christian, and I love where Stevenson's apparently, once again, Stevenson died in 1950, Didi died in 1913, BJ died in 1961. We can only speculate some of the things that they mean. It really does appear, as Strauss said, that Stevenson was trying to move away from God in personification, even though he did so a little bit in his chiropractic text. But there was an apparent delineation in the 33 principles that were never seen before or after Stevenson wrote it. It was not seen in BJ's writing or lectures, and it wasn't seen in Didi's writing or lectures. Not to say there wasn't inspiration, but it was so unique in and of itself. And later on, as we keep going forward, Joe Strauss tries to break chiropractic down into 3 different categories: the authoritative phase, the traditional straight, the objective straight. That has holes in it, even though it's a great effort. Reggie Gold tries to break chiropractic down into 1, 2, and 3 paradigms in the 3rd paradigm. That's great. Still has flaws in it. Jim Healy, in my opinion, does the best in clarifying two models in chiropractic: therapeutic, which is the physical medicine, and you'll have liberal and conservative within that model, and the non therapeutic, which is simply the adjustment of vertebral subluxations for a fuller expression of innate impulses, totally disassociated from any physiological outcome thereof.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to Jim Healy multiple times when I was at Sherman College, and his contributions were really important. Now, I gotta say, so with you posting this, 'cause what kind of response did you get? Did you get flack for it? Did anybody say, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you"? Did people like invite you to speak or anything about that? Or because I would like to, conversations have to happen, right? We need to have conversations. I remember Tom Girardi telling me, who was the guy that was the national, Reed Phillips. Reed Phillips, right? He used to tell us he would go to the meetings, and him and Reed Phillips would have great conversations on a different side, and they had a great respect for each other. But you have to have conversations.
Yes, yes, and you do. Robert Leach and I have fantastic conversations. We're totally on different sides. Robert Leach, who wrote the book Chiropractic Theories, it's taught in all chiropractic schools, to my knowledge, and I think he coined the term chiropractic theosophy. He would watch Sid Williams go into these meetings, and he's like, "We're speaking totally different language." Tom, Tom Tom was much more in this model than Sid ever was, and Sid was very much in the theosophy. So when he was speaking with national and Western states and Northwestern, they couldn't come to this because they were speaking such different languages, and Sid coming from the theosophy point of view. So people tell me we already have a definition. Okay, which one? And then it's like, okay, we can debate that. I'll debate with anyone, because the quest is one thing. The quest is truth. If I'm wrong, or if I can't argue my point, I don't own it, and I want to know so I can get better. And we're all looking for truth. I'm not saying that, oh, I've totally arrived. I'm just further along than most of the profession. And if those who oppose me or oppose anything, come on out and let's have a debate, have a topic, and go back and forth on that topic. And I want to learn truth. So, I've had people say, "Oh, you don't want to debate me." I want to debate anybody, because the quest is truth, understanding, and furthering this basic science and how we understand it and can communicate it. So if I can't defend a point, if I can't explain a point, or if there is incongruencies in a point, I don't own it, and that's the only way we know.
Yes, exactly. So tell me a little bit about the Chiropractic Trust. Tell me, everybody. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, here is the thing, bro. You and I, we've known each other for a long time. I've known of you for a long time in your class act. Okay. And
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. Class. So I was a part of the FSCO, and the FSCO was founded by Reggie Gold. For the first 3 years, he was the only member. And when it happened, you got this organization that's growing, and then you have two opposing viewpoints. And right or wrong, this is what had happened in the climactic ending. That there was the hard edge, and then there was the soft edge. And it was more therapeutic concepts that were coming in. So eventually the organization split.
Right?
And they had two organizations formed, the IFCO and the Chiropractic Trust. And these two organizations are so unbelievably close in everything, good people in both. Now, the Chiropractic Trust is, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on anything here. And Travis, who I think is an unbelievable class act, great president, unbelievable humility, knowledge. We go back and forth, and we have so much fun. And people would ask me, "What's the difference between the Chiropractic Trust and the IFCO?" And I would struggle with that answer. Here's the answer that I've come up with, and we can talk about this. And
I love that you said so much fun. People can have heated conversations and have fun with that.
It's fun. Yes,
Yankees and Red Sox fans can have heated conversations and have fun.
have fun. Yes, and you should have fun. So, in the state of the profession, we have these four international organizations, and I consider the ACA and the ICA to be pretty much the same organization. I consider the Chiropractic Trust and the IFCO to be just about the same organization. Here is the difference. The Chiropractic Trust looks at the vertebral subluxation as the chiropractic entity, just like the IFCO does. The adjustment of the vertebral subluxation, allowing for a fuller expression of innate impulses, is the result of chiropractic that we're all looking for. The analysis is the same for every analysis in the world. What is the innate law trying to do in adjusting a vertebral subluxation back to innate normal? That's every analysis on the planet. When the vertebral subluxation has been adjusted, the Chiropractic Trust totally disassociates from any physiological outcome. We do not focus on health. We do not focus on any physiological result. And that would be crossing a line that can be construed as physical medicine. No third party pay whatsoever. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong. The IFCO looks at the vertebral subluxation as the chiropractic entity. There will be compensation after the adjustment in regards to health or physiological improvement.
Okay.
And reimbursement is something that is up to the chiropractor.
Ah,
So,
got it.
yeah.
Is that to be a member? Is that what you're saying, to be a member?
No, to not vote. Once again, you have membership. And within the trust, we have membership. We have a full member and an associate member. A full member is where you're 100% congruent with these tenants, so you can run for a leadership position. An associate membership is like, look, I love what you're doing, totally supportive of it. I'm not quite there yet. I may never be there. I simply support what you're doing and want this to be an option for chiropractors in the future. So you can still join. You can still join. Now, and one of the things Travis and I had talked about, if we can get clarity and 100% that, hey, this one area is our massive sticking point. We can go into other areas of debate, but so much is resolved right here. And right now, I'm excited that we're working together with the ICAE and all that. I'm super excited in defending the vertical subluxation together. We have debates that would need to happen on after the adjustment that we would have to, which would be super fun. So give me your thoughts on this, Daniel. Go ahead.
Well, I am not in the IFCO leadership, and to be very clear, I don't know the IFCO position on those things. I haven't been involved with it, so no, this is their definition in this. I've been a member since I was in chiropractic school, the FSCO and the IFCO. So I don't know that I can speak intelligently, or maybe if I can speak intelligently, but informed of what their positions are in terms of that, because I haven't studied that. But I've supported it since school because I felt that you have to have an international organization that stands for protecting, preserving, and growing the subluxation as the focus of chiropractic. Now, I will say this. It's really interesting to watch what's gone on with the ICA, because since currently going on, we're kind of watching that crumble. Like, I felt, we always called, and I'm not the first one to say this, I'm sure you've heard about it, this term otherwise on other places. I'm sure I'm not the first one to say it to you. We always called the Inconsistent Chiropractic Association, right? And we called the ACA the Anti-Chiropractic Association. Yet, I saw them as the same thing, because once you go across the diagnosis line, it's the same thing, right? In my world. So I always felt they were already the same organization, and people not see that as that point, but what you're saying to me is that and correct me if I'm wrong, if the trust is, the line is the insurance area.
Well, the insurance is sort of a byproduct. The line is any like, we want to distinguish ourselves from physical medicine. Chiropractic started as physical medicine. Anytime you're trying to predict any physiological outcome, including health, you step over that line of physical medicine. all third-party pay is physical medicine.
Got it.
Major medical insurance. Words matter. So if
I
you're
agree.
billing, if you're building a CPT code, that's chiropractic physical therapy. If you're building a
Right.
CMT code, that's chiropractic manipulative therapy, and they are under the control of the medical profession. If you're offering a
Yeah,
treatment,
they own the codes. They own the diagnosis codes.
100%, yes. And personal injury and workman's comp, you're treating a condition. That's all physical medicine. And I'm not hating on anybody who does that. It's your right and your legal right to do so. Where the trust comes in, you see these words where you see chiropractic or vertebral subluxation focus or vertebral subluxation based. We don't buy into that lexicon because
Okay.
we're exclusively vertebral subluxation. It's not based because that's going to imply you're doing other things. So as the Chiropractic Trust defines chiropractic, your exclusive focus is the adjustment of vertebral subluxation for a fuller expression of innate impulses. Anything else simply is not chiropractic. Of course, in regards to the education thereof, yes. So,
and there was the base lexicon, right? And then we moved to centered, as
yes.
you know, and then there was like, well, it's centered, but other people are going to put stuff around it, you know?
Yes, yes. 100%,
So,
Daniel.
right.
Yes, 100%. So we do take that hard stance. And yeah, I know we're not for everybody. And this, when you and David Serio came to me as the chair and says, this is something we can all get behind. And I brought it to the like, yes, we can get behind this. Let's get behind it. Let's work together.
Get behind the IACE or get behind what?
The IACE, yes,
Right.
defending that lexicon of vertebral subluxation. So to me, this was a huge, massive step for us working together, and only good things are coming from it. And as far as your president, I can't say enough great things about Travis, and what a pleasure to work with. Please check out the conversation that we had. It's up on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mark J. Romano.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Please do. And you talk about a fun back and forth, and it's so much fun. And that provides clarity, just like your podcast here will provide clarity as well.
Well, I want to ask you something. You said something about words matter, right? And
right.
I agree. And I think all of us can further refine our words and our lexicon. I think that's vital. And I'll say this. There's a phrase in chiropractic that's irked me for a long time. It's irked me for a decade or so, which is and I've said it, I own this and lived it, the LACVS, the locate, analyze, correct vertebral subluxation. I don't think that is an appropriate, I don't think that lexicon is not correct. And here's why. I think that it's actually the wrong order, and I don't like the word correct. So I think we analyze first is what we do. And we analyze what's going on with the nervous system. And then we locate where we're going to apply a universal force, right? Because we don't actually move the vertebra. We are applying universal force so innate can assemble the forces to make a change. And we're making an educated decision of that. We don't even know if we're right. We could be wrong, right? So we're hoping that by our educated analysis that we're applying a universal force where we've located that this is the place to apply a force, and we're hopeful that innate's going to be able to assemble forces to make a constructive change. And that's what makes it an adjustment. If we like going to say, well, the bone goes right to left, that's a correction, and that's physical medicine. I think correction is a physical medicine thing. You can do an adjustment hands-on, you could do it with an instrument, but what makes it a chiropractic adjustment is that innate assembles the forces, not us. If we're assembling the forces to make a correction, then it's physical medicine in my book, right? And so I feel it's analyze, locate, and adjust. So I feel it's ALA, rather than LACVS.
100%. I don't use that acronym. I've seen other people use it. I never was crazy about it. And what you say, because the best the chiropractor can do is be a part of the adjustment, creating the universal force. So the innate law transitions to an innate force, restoring the bone to innate normal position. No chiropractor ever knows the innate normal position.
Right.
What we do is create a universal force with the intent that it's transitioned to an innate force. Jim Healy has a great essay on this called Analytical Certainty. A must read. I'm trying to get it organized to where we can get it in a booklet, because it is an absolute must read for all analysis. And to me, regardless of the analysis you use, you've got to be able to defend it and reason it and argue it through this logical criteria that you just said, because every analysis is the same in regards we are searching to try to figure out what the innate law is trying to do to restore this vertebral subluxation back to its innate normal position. And that's every single analysis. These are the things that we're talking about now. 5-10 years ago, folks didn't understand enough to have these conversations. We can only have the conversations to the level of our current understanding. And this is why it's imperative to keep growing.
And this is why in universities around the world, there's philosophy departments where they have conversations. Yes. They write new papers. There's new theses, because people have new organizational or expansive thought based on the new level of understanding of reality, right? And so this is why these things have to happen in chiropractic, because you started saying this with something that is so accurate and at the same time so sad, in my book, in my opinion, or point of view, which is that nobody knows what a chiropractor is. Like, have you had people walk into your office and say, "No one ever told me this before"?
You know, that does happen. Yeah, you know it does. Like, why wasn't I told this before after the consultation? But there, by the way, right there's your clip. Right there, what you just said is your clip. Because why aren't we having these conversations with major leaders and all these major universities of chiropractic to talk about chiropractic and clarifying the definition and how we bring it to the world and the principles and how we utilize them in the applied science, which is practice.
Right, and I'm sure I mean, I followed Reggie so much, and he said over and over again, like, I'm not allowed to speak at school. Certain schools won't let me have me. And you go to any university around the world, you'll see people discussing, different points of view for, politics and for racism and, and abortion. And you'll have those conversations because a place of higher learning will embrace conversation, but chiropractic education doesn't allow that. Reggie couldn't go to schools because his ideas were radical. But if it was actually higher education, you would embrace people having different conversations. And it's sad that chiropractic does that.
And what are you afraid of? You're silencing people. What are you afraid of? Because to me, there's a correlation there. I'm going to silence you because I can't debate you, and I'm afraid of you because of that. And that is even more reasons why these conversations have to happen.
Right. Because they'll dilute or disparage or undermine what we want to teach at this university, rather than help people think in their higher brains to have new thoughts or expand their thinking or have multiple perspectives, that they have conversations. I mean, you'll have people debate, Judaism and Christianity at a university, or you'll have people debate evolution or something else. But at chiropractic school, we can't do that. I was used to that at NYU. I went to NYU before, chiropractic, and they'll have a priest debate with, evolution, people that say evolution, right? But if you don't do that, then you don't have higher education.
You don't have higher education. And my thing is, you're trying to control people's thinking. And what are you afraid of? If you can't handle your thoughts being challenged and your ideas and ideals being challenged, they're not solid enough. And now you're trying to use dogma and authority rather than logic and reasoning. Right.
Or allow people to make their own mind up. Right. And it goes along with the banning books thing, right? So
it does. Of course it does. Of course it does. We have, and chiropractors have been known for being these free thinkers. But what led me to this model was the logical congruence of what makes sense in chiropractic. And if it doesn't make sense, I've seen this, and I was aware of this at a young age, that unfortunately in our profession, philosophy is something you talk about over a beer at the bar and you brag over whatever. But then when it comes down to practice, this is the real world. I mean, if it's not practical and if you don't use it in practice, then it's nonsense BS. And I don't deal in BS. Either it is the basic science has to convert over to the applied science, or it's a bunch of nonsense. And the philosophy is our endless pursuit of why, in adding more clarity. So the whole idea to say that chiropractic has a philosophy and is a philosophy, it is shameful that that philosophy doesn't require chiropractors, because it does, to ask more questions and to search on a deeper understanding. And to be stagnant is to violate the idea completely of chiropractic philosophy.
Right. And David Koch, in his rewrite of the 33 principles that he
which
put
I
out,
thought was great.
it was great, and he signed it. I have a signed copy from him, and he put something that was really important in that message. I'm probably not the only one that he wrote this. He probably wrote it in everybody's sign. But he said, chiropractic only lives in the offices that it's practiced in.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And I think that's important that we have to grow the number of people actually practicing chiropractic, because just debating it on social media and going like this, it has to live in offices so humanity gets the impact of chiropractic, because it's not about you and me or Travis or anybody else. It's about the people in our communities that lose the gift of chiropractic in their lives if we don't come together as what chiropractic is, because every office they walk into, they're told it's something else. They're told it's shockwave or whatever it is, and they don't get their subluxations addressed. And whatever technique they're doing, or someone's telling them about innate, but rather than they're saying, oh, well, 6 visits will make you feel better and come back when you're hurt again. And that's a travesty to humanity,
100%. So, and here's where it gets interesting. I'm sure your mission is, my mission is 8.2 billion people seeing their chiropractor every week. And with this, we are in a massive shortage. A chiropractor on every corner. There's 100, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's approximately 103,000 chiropractors practicing worldwide. If every chiropractor, came to the United States and we saw 330 million people as we're capable of, every chiropractor would be seeing over 3,300 visits a week. And just in the United States, we're in a massive shortage. So in our vision, chiropractic reaches to what a massive change in consciousness when having a full expression of innate impulses.
1,000%.
Yes, from Mongolia to Great Britain. I mean, my goodness, this is our vision. Anything else falls short. Anything in the physical medicine, chiropractors are like, oh, we don't need a chiropractor here. Go down the street. I'll go to another town. And then chiropractors sign radius clauses because, I don't want them to steal my patients and all this nonsense. I've been having chiropractors work with me for 30 years. We agree to 2 years. If it's not a good fit, or after the 2 years, most stay for a little bit longer. You want to go down the street, whoever wants to go with you, awesome. Open up down the street. We'll help get your office going. Everybody goes with you. We're all happy, and we're building a community, reaching more people, because the understanding and awareness is multiplying.
Well, I'll tell you this. All right. I realized something this year, recently, just before we had Mile High. Okay. And it's along the line of exactly what you're saying, because this is not about ICA, ACA, IFCO, the trust. It's about people. People need us. Okay.
Yes.
And I didn't go into chiropractic for politics. I went into it because I wanted to help people
100%.
in a particular way. Colorado. All right. I was the first Sherman grad. Okay. And when I was the first Sherman grad, because it was like, it didn't have CCA. So when I got CCA, it was all of a sudden beyond. Rochelle and I were the first, and the board went after us in that first year badly. And so we had to battle a bit. And there were 3,000 or 4,000 licenses at that time. All of a sudden, PIP went away. So when medical insurance, accident coverage went, people left. People left in droves, chiropractors, because they couldn't make money off auto accident, and the number of chiropractors decreased roughly half. My practice grew, okay, because I never did insurance, so all of a sudden there were less chiropractors. I just found this out. There's roughly, so speaking to what you said, Mongolia, the billions of people in the world. Colorado has 5.8 million, is an approximate population of 5.8 million. It has roughly, I just found this out, 1,200 licensees practicing, active practice. we could not see them all. There's no way if everybody woke up and said, I need to get adjusted weekly, none of us, we couldn't do it. We would fail, right? Because we couldn't take care of all of it. It'd be a great problem. It's a quality problem, but we couldn't do it. Yet most of this thing is lack, because if I tell them what chiropractic really is, or I don't treat their, if I don't, if I don't treat their pain and, all of those things, if I don't get the new thing that will somehow a machine that will make me tens of thousands of dollars, I will fail. You have a problem of too many people to take care of. Like if we all said we're only going to adjust subluxations and that's going to be our focus, that would be, if we got together on the objective, that we're non-therapeutic and that the subluxation is the whole reason that we're taking care of people, you wouldn't have a problem, right? You can't take care of all the people. You'd be incredibly abundant, right? But
Right.
actually us not focusing on that and not describing what chiropractic is actually the problem, and it's helping, we don't end up helping humanity because we're in so much lack that we have to we don't have enough money. We have to make sure we get people in the door. Oh yeah, you want us to fix your headaches? We'll do that, right? So at least you'll pay us some money. And oh no, we don't have to do an exam. We'll just whatever it is that then we're sacrificing what chiropractic is, and most of all, we're sacrificing humanity, not receiving the gift of what chiropractic is to the world.
You
And it's
just
sad.
explained why we need to have these conversations and define
Right.
what we do and bring it to the world. How exciting and motivating that your success makes me more successful. You
Right.
see?
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
100%. My thing in practice, and this is my thing. You figure out how many people that you can see based on the days you want to work and based on the hours you want to work and based on how long it takes you to safely analyze and facilitate the adjustment of a vertebral subluxation. So you figure out how many people. For me, you're looking at, oh golly, 350 to 450 visits a week. So what I tell folks, and that's me, you know what? I mean, have I seen more through my career? Yes. This is where I'm at. I've seen a lot. I'll have an associate come work with me. They'll go. Sometimes half the practice will go with them, and that's fine. I'm always thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for, and I recommend this when I'm helping chiropractors build their practice, you don't want to see the world. You don't want that. You want to build your practice to capacity, to scale. And then if you hire on other associates, that scale grows, of course, for people who are unbelievably intensely fanatical about seeing you. I can't imagine their life without you. You build a practice of 300 to 400 people. Let's just say that number.
Right.
That practice will never go away. This is called oversubscribed, to where you have that practice, and now people will pay whatever your fees are because they're so excited and they can't imagine their life without you. That's your clientele. That's your practice. They're fanatical about you. So now, boom, that's there. Maybe you're working 3 days a week. Great. Maybe you're seeing 100 people a day. Great. You're getting your recovery. People come in. They're creatures of habit. They come in at that time to get you to check their spine. And they can't imagine that's how you build a practice. So now they're super fanatical. Now, for me, when I have chiropractors come in, a lot of these chiropractors, not only they're getting paid from percentage from what they see what's already established, they're also building their own practice as well. They're getting new people coming in. And then there are people like, I want to see you forever. I'm fanatical about you. It would be a travesty if I did something to interfere with that by trying to instill a radius clause. That's just silly. No, when you open up down the street or next town or whatever you want to do, they're going with you because that's the whole idea. Build your tribe. I think we do a disservice to these new chiropractors when we say, oh, no, see everybody. No, that's going to be miserable. See those who are fanatical about you. When you share the message and you close them on this big idea of chiropractic, they're like, I love it. I want you. Sign me up. And then they're in. Whatever you recommend is what they do. That is your ideal that you're building your practice on.
And I got to say, when I realized that, it was a couple weeks before Mile High, and I was like, there's only 1,200 chiropractors. and there's 5 whatever million. I was like, we have there's plenty of spines to take care of, right? There's plenty of people that need what we have to do. And I thought, wow, this is my thinking, my expansive. I was like, what if, of those 400, or if we have like 400 people that go to Mile High. What if those 1,200 plus licensees all got to Mile High? How would we impact practice in the state of Colorado? You know what I mean?
You'd be seeing 4,166 one-time visits a week. That's how you would. And imagine this, and just call me crazy, okay? Call me crazy. Let's just say this, just the total lowest amount. Let's just say you were even close to that, 4,000, and let's just say maybe you charge $10 a visit. I know it's ridiculous. You're
Right.
making $40,000 a week.
Right.
Okay, that's $160,000 a month. Okay,
Right.
That's you're looking at somewhere in the ballpark of $2 million a year, and maybe you do that for, I don't know, 3 years, and you're investing that money into things that are passive income, and then
Right.
and now you have other chiropractors coming to work for you, and now you don't even have to be in the office anymore after 5 years.
There's no lack. There's no lack as a chiropractor. It's only in your head.
Yes, yes.
Right?
And I think Sid tried to teach this. He was never in this model, but I think he had some really good points to getting chiropractors to see abundance.
Right. And again, it's that old adage, like the salesperson, Africa, no one wears shoe here, there's no business, versus, hey, there's no one that wears shoes here, send more shoes, right?
Yes, Daniel.
Right.
Yes.
So I got to tell you, I always love talking to you. I love what you bring to chiropractors. I appreciate you taking your valuable time to be on this podcast. I look forward to us crossing paths somewhere. I'm sure we will pretty soon. And thank you for posting what you do and bringing a message, because we got to impact chiropractors and how they think, and chiropractic students. So I just want to say how grateful I am for you.
And that goes both ways. Thank you for the courage to reaching out and having this conversation and making it fun. These can be difficult topics to talk about, but you make it very fun, very informative. And I love what you do, Daniel. You're a class act, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. And even though you're from Boston, I still.
Even though you love the Yankees, yes, exactly. The Yankees, but we can still love each other and overcome these differences. And people don't realize what a massive difference. Dennis Leary, I don't know if you know the actor.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
He's from Boston, and he did a show that he wrote called Rescue Me.
Yeah.
And he was on a talk show one time, and they were asking him about it. He goes, "Let me tell you something. I get passed up for an Academy Award from this show every year, and I'm doing great acting. I'm from Boston. I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. The fact that I'm acting like a Yankees fan is incredible. And I get passed up for Academy Awards." So yeah, people don't know unless you're from the area, bro. They don't know, man.
That's right. Well, again, thank you for what you're giving to chiropractors. I know you don't have to do it. You do it out of love and passion for what this thing that we call chiropractic. And I want to just say bless you, and I appreciate what you're doing. And keep changing spines and lives and minds with chiropractic, my friend.
You do the same, brother. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you so much for having me.
Grateful.